Hey everybody, how's it going? Dan Schinder here on Drum Talk TV. That's right, you're watching Drum Talk TV. You're with us live if you're with us live, or you're watching the archive if it's an archive. I'm Dan Schinder. I'm coming to you from Globe, Arizona, 100 miles east of Phoenix up in the mountains. Let us know where you're watching from. And we're here with Scott Kettner, who's got an awesome book. We're going to show some awesome videos. And he's in Maplewood, New Jersey, right outside of New York City. How you doing, Scott? You with us, Schinder? I'm coming to you. And he's watching the show, too. How's it going?
Great, man. Thanks for having me back. It's great to be back.
Yeah, absolutely. We were talking just a few minutes ago before we went live that we couldn't even remember, like, when was it? You know, there's such a time funk, a time blur, a time warp that sometimes it's hard to remember what happened. Or like I told my wife this morning, I took the trash out 4 weeks ago. I remember. Hey, folks, chime in. Tell us where you're watching from. You're in for a real treat because we're going to talk about Scott's new book. You can see it on the player as well. And I'm going to show some video clips of Scott's awesome playing. One of the things, Scott, that really gets me wound up about your playing is it is in an area that probably in the world of drumming and music, I have the least amount of experience with that and blast beats. Never done blast beats. And I've never been taught, and I've never spent a lot of time mastering, let alone learning Latin beats and Latin music and Latin percussion, yet I love it. I love, we were just talking about Cindy Blackman, who I had on recently. One of my favorite concert videos is Carlos Santana at Tanglewood in 1970. The Woodstock lineup. And I love salsa music. I love flamenco. I love mariachi, but I've never learned it. And when I watch you play, and we'll show a clip here in a moment, folks, I'm just literally dazzled. I really am, because I can't do any of that. And anything that I can't do or can't do well, I get excited about. And it reminds me, I really need to practice, or I don't have time for lessons. Someday I want to go on a 3-month learning sabbatical, and I want to spend time in Latin America, West Africa, and North Africa, known as the Middle East, and learn a whole bunch of different influences. Before I show a clip, where did your interest in these styles of music come from, Scott?
Well, that's a great question. I think it came from, early on studying drums. It was one of my teachers, my early teachers. He was very curious, and he was always trying to expose me to things outside of what everybody my age was already doing, right? He was always trying to get me to look just a little bit beyond what the trends were. And
how old were you, for context? And when if you don't mind me asking, when about was this?
I was like a young teenager. I was probably, 12, 13, 14 years old.
It was like Pearl Jam and stuff like that going on at
Pearl
the time,
Jam, Nirvana. I was like in a surf punk band. It was a lot of which is great. It's fun. I love doing it. But so my teacher was always trying to push me outside of that and say, this is great, but look outside. Think about where it all came from. And it's something similar to what, Cindy Blackman was talking about on her last interview with you, is like knowing who the masters were.
Yeah.
And just like studying the masters. And I just became a student of the instrument. And that being a student of the instrument means you're going to be curious about where it was born, and so that led me to New Orleans, and then that leads you to Cuba, and it leads you to, all of the Caribbean, and it leads you to West Africa, as you said, and it ultimately led me to Brazil. And a lot of this was because of my mentor, Billy Hart, the great jazz drummer, Billy Hart, who was just awarded, the NEA Foundation Jazz Masters Award for this year.
That's right.
Just a couple of weeks ago. So Billy Hart was my teacher when I moved to New York City, and my mentor. And he was who kind of opened this whole entire world of Brazil and Cuba and New Orleans to me.
Very interesting. Let's show a clip. The first one I'm going to show, folks, this is drums and percussion solo. To give you an idea of Scott's versatility, a lot of frame drum work, and I love the influence here, and it makes me want to get serious about making time to learn it. Well, and now I got your book. So check this out, folks. We'll be right back. Just a teaser for now, folks. That's, on Saturday, I did my Dan's Almost Daily vlog show. And a few days before, I posted something saying, drummers, what's on your bucket list to improve on? And people put in a bunch of comments. And what I chose to demonstrate was how to create a solo. And the other was a groove. And for me, when it comes to how to create a solo, I said, first of all, the easiest path is find 5 things that you're good at and that you like doing and put them together, rearrange them, you got a solo. But what I love about what we just saw is that it truly is a composition, and it's a composition made up of ostinatos being layered over each other. And it's so cool. The triangle work is just rocking. What are you using to loop and play that with yourself live?
Yeah, I'm using the Boss RC20, I think it's called. Here, I'll show you my pedal board.
You gotta love a drummer percussionist with a pedal board.
Gotta have the pedal board, So, I don't know if you can see from there.
Yeah.
But this is basically what I'm using. So this is the RC30. Sorry, it's the RC30. I've got a delay pedal. I've got an octave pedal, and I've got an onboard mixer so that I can add my microphone and my Pandero mic, and sometimes I use a sampler to sample things and live loop. But that looper is the Boss RC30.
And that's a little onboard mixer to run everything through?
Yep.
That's interesting. And explain, because I know people are wondering right now, what do you need an octave pedal for? Like, what would you bring up an octave? The triangle? So demonstrate.
So, well,
Nice.
I don't have it all plugged in. I wish I could. I don't have it all plugged into the system. But basically, the Pandero, it's just, the looks are deceiving. It looks like a little kind of tambourine. But the thing is when you put a microphone underneath it and you tune it low,
There's a lot of drum head sound.
there's a huge bass sound. Every time I show up to a gig and I tell the sound guy to put a mic under this, they kind of laugh at me. I'm saying, no. Check it out. Put a mic on, turn the bass up, go for an 808 kick drum sound, put me through the subs. And when they do that, the entire room shakes. And they
cool.
they can't believe it. So it's really nice sometimes when you want to kick things into third gear to have that octave pedal, because when I hit that octave pedal, it's like boom. It
So
really
obviously
kind of
you're detuning.
yeah. I have it has and it has two too. It has the dry sound and the octave sound.
Wow.
So it gets really big. So sometimes with the instrument, musically, you want to bring it up, you want to bring the level up, or you want to add some different color. So I use the pedals for color.
That's awesome. Now, the jingles on that look a lot like those of an Arabian tambourine, which are very brassy and thick, and they're much larger diameter than an average tambourine. And when you said that the octave pedal allows you to have the dry sound and the effect at the same time, so you can hear the attack as well better.
Exactly.
That's great. I
Yep,
love that.
yep.
Interesting. Did you discover that on your own, just experimenting with sounds? Did you hear it in your head and figure out what would do it? How did that come about, Scott?
Yeah, so it was kind of like going to what you were saying earlier about creating a composition out of these what you called ostinatos. That when I came back from Brazil, from living in Brazil, I had all of these sounds and all of these grooves and compositions in my head that I had to get out. And the way I was practicing and the way I was composing was using the loop station. So I would loop and get a groove going, and then I would think, okay, well, what's a part that could fit on top of this basic groove? And then and I would start writing a groove on top of my loop. So that's where that kind of whole thing started, it was a composition tool in the beginning.
That's
and
awesome.
then it became a real part of my of the instrument. I mean, it really doesn't leave without me.
That's cool. Let's watch another. And folks, the little bit, all that, my mouse has been geeking out all day today. It's connecting, reconnecting, disconnecting. Sorry about that. But this one I love because it's got the pandero and the berimbau. Explain the berimbau before they see it so they know which instrument that is if they don't already know. And that's from Brazil.
That is from Brazil via West Africa. The berimbau is a stick by a tree called the birimba, and it's a narrow stick with one string on it and a gourd on the back of it.
It's the body.
That's the resonator, right? And it's the root of the blues slide guitar too, because when the early blues artists started making their music here, what they would do is get a string and tie it to the porch, tie each end of the porch and put a couple of bottles up to lift the string up, and then they would slide with the bottle and hit it with a string. Amazing. So yeah, this is the berimbau.
Let's check this out. Here it comes, folks. Watch for the stick with the string and the gourd. You can see it hanging on the wall. Here it comes. so cool. And folks, I don't know if you noticed, but the gourd, there it is. The gourd has a hole in the back facing the player, and you might have seen Scott move it back and forth to wonk, 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 kind of mute.
That gives the wah-wah effect.
Yeah, it's the wah-wah effect. Yeah.
Yeah. So really, this is all it is. It's a string, and there's a rock. I couldn't find my rock during the break. I was trying to find my rock, but there's a little rock that you hold in your finger here, and that's what you hit the string, and you get two tones. It's boom, 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 and sometimes you can have a little shaker in this hand as well. They call it a kashishi. And that's the beat and bow.
Very cool. Tell us about the book.
Yeah, the book. The book just is about to be released. It's going to be released worldwide on June 1st. And it's going to be available to everybody on my email list on May 18th. And this is a book that I've been working on for a very long time. I'm really excited about it. I've taken kind of a drum set approach to playing, to writing out and teaching the pandero, because I wanted to make this book accessible to drummers and other, musicians and people in the university world, people who are looking to study the drum, but people who already understand drum music, right? Yeah. Notation. So it starts with like technique, how to hold the pandero, choosing the right pandero, how to choose the right pandero. So it's kind of like I mapped it out the way I would teach in person. So it starts with the basics.
There's so much here. I mean, from samba in 5 steps to bossa nova to frevo.
Yeah.
Jote.
Now, what's really cool, what I really like to point out is a couple of things. There's the swingometer. Now,
what page is that again?
That is page 14. So the book, when you buy the book, you get a free online course that comes with the book. Okay.
This swingometer. Now, I'm going to hold it up while you talk about it so they can see what you're talking about.
Okay. So the swingometer is the dial that I created in my head that helps me go in between the swing feel of Brazil, as you see right there. On one side is Brazil and on the other side is the USA. And so these are two really extreme, important swing feels that I've been dealing with for my entire drumming career. And students always ask me, how do I play the Brazilian swing feel? Or students always ask, how do I play the shuffle feel? And so I created a dial in my head, and the dial is from 0, there's no swing feel, all the way down to 3 is extreme Brazil swing feel, and then you go back to 0 and you go back to 3 to the USA side, and you got the shuffle. Cha 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 cha
So the difference is simply in displacement, basically.
It's stretching the notes. So what we've done is in between 0 and 3, there's at least 2 degrees of swing feel, which, like my good friend Stanton Moore calls it, playing between the cracks. Right? It's not fully swung and it's not straight. It's in that like gap. Mm-hmm. And so what this swingometer, it's an app that you get for free when you buy the book. You get the swingometer app, and it's a dial, and it plays the swing for you, and you can change the tempo and everything. It's a whole app situation.
That's so cool. The app is free, but the book's $92. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
So when you get the book, you get that app, and you see here on each page, some pages, there's this little icon with the Pandero play button. That means that this lesson is on the online course. There's a whole video lesson that you get based on this exercise from the book. And it's all free when you get the book, you get that online course.
That is awesome. What are some examples you could give, Scott, of how a drummer who may not be familiar with that type of music, maybe they play rock, maybe they play different colors of jazz, how can they learn this and apply it to these other different genres in layers, textures, and flavors?
Yep, that's a great question, and I mention it a lot in the book. Is that you don't necessarily only have to associate this pandeiro with Brazilian music, and so there's a lot of times where I say, apply it to what you already do. So if you're in a rock band or you're playing a rock band situation, think of your favorite rock groove to play on the drum set. Learn how to play it on this.
I love that, because a lot of ladies and gents, they look at a style of music and they say, oh, I don't want to learn that. I don't play that kind of music. But it's not about that. That goes back to, again, the conversation of what did the master study? Everything came from something else, and nothing had just one root or one influence.
Right, exactly. And knowledge is only going to help your drumming. So even if you might not ever play a samba in your gigs, that's okay. The samba is going to inform your rock beat. It's going to improve your rock beat. It's going to improve your whole concept of time and swing and feel.
Yeah.
You know, it's like that Big Chief groove, right? You know, right? That the song Big Chief that Professor Longhair made famous. It's written by Earl King. You know, I learned how to do it like on this. It's like so my advice, yeah,
I'm sorry, I was going to say, and if nothing else, learning something like that and a different style than what you're used to is going to improve your fingering skills, your dexterity, might even make you more ambidextrous as a player because you're working out your not as strong hand. There's so many benefits to it. It's not just about I'm going to learn bossa nova, but I'm not in a bossa nova band. It doesn't mean anything. It's not related.
Exactly. And what I always say to my students is that, you know, you have to think about what makes you unique, what makes you stand out. There's a gazillion drummers that can play the same beat just as good as you, maybe even better than you. What are you bringing to the table that's going to make you more hireable than the next person?
Right.
Maybe it's this. Maybe you've figured out a way to incorporate this into the style of music that you play that makes people want to play with you just because you bring an extra color to the table that nobody else does.
Yeah, and what if it's not even called for at a session? You're at a recording session and the artist says, you know what, let's do that with more of a samba feel, or bossa nova, or rumba for that matter. If you don't know what that is and know the structures and that swing meter, it's like, huh? Well, if you can't do it, you're kind of stuck, and so are they, and that's not good.
Exactly. And another situation is in a recording session, the band might say, hey, we got this like new mellow vibe we just wrote last night. We don't really hear a full drum set on it.
Right.
Bam! Let's do it.
Yeah, exactly. Shakers, there's more to playing shakers than just shaking them. You know, there's a whole, to get different patterns, rhythm, notes, dynamics, accents, all those things. I kind of equate it to every actor or actress I've known, and that is many, because I used to do voice casting, voice directing for commercials and things. They all know multiple dialects. They could sound like they're from New Jersey, from the Bronx, from Indiana, from South Texas, and this is the same thing. It's learning different dialects so that if it's called for and to just be able to be more versatile, you've got that.
Yep, you're ready.
I think it makes you think differently as a musician as well. The more tools you have in your toolbox doesn't mean any of these peripheral ones to what you normally play have to end up ever being dominant, but they can absolutely help, like you said earlier, differentiate you from everybody else that's playing the boom, ticka, boom, da. Anyone can do that. What can you do to make it sound exquisite or really different, you know?
Yep, exactly.
That's
about
great.
Bringing something new to the table. And so, yeah, so I mean, the book, you know, that's the goal of the book, is to put it in front of more drummers who might not necessarily gravitate towards the instrument, but they're open to gravitating towards something new and bringing in something new in their arsenal. You know, I think it's a great color to add to the tools, to our tool.
Now, you mentioned in the book, like you said, how to choose a pandero. Where does someone get one? Other than, I know probably can look it up on Amazon, but most walk-in brick and mortar stores probably don't have them, correct? Are there certain brands you recommend?
Believe it or not, Vinyl and like the Guitar Centers and Sam Ash, they carry them. They're carrying the Vinyl Pandero. Absolutely. Yeah. The Vinyl Pandero is up there. There sometimes you can find the Remo and the LP Pandero, but the big stores are carrying them.
That's
and
great.
I know that probably even some of the smaller mom and pop shops might even have a couple too. I think it's an instrument that's growing in popularity.
Great.
A lot of people are starting to catch on. It's the tabla of Brazil. It's a complex instrument to get really, really deep and good at it. But it's the most popular percussion instrument in Brazil.
Wow.
I mean, you can't go anywhere. There's not a single region of Brazil that you can't find, people on the streets playing pandero everywhere.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Let's watch another video on that note. This is a mono percussion video with Scott, One Nation. Do you want to give this a preview before we play it?
Yeah, One Nation is a composition that I wrote. One Nation Under Many Grooves is the full title, and the sentiment of that title is that I feel that we have a lot more in common than we think with other people from around the world, and the more I've gotten deeper into Brazilian music and New Orleans music and just studying music in general, the more similarities I see between all of these different styles of music. And so One Nation Under Many Grooves is my vision of the world through our rhythm.
I love that. Let's check it out. Check this out, folks. just love that piece. That's great. Scott, what would you say to drummers and percussionists who are maybe a little apprehensive about either learning a new instrument or learning a new style, other than some of the things that we covered? Because sometimes I think that maybe I'm wrong, but maybe the older they get, like me, they feel they have less bandwidth up here and that the learning curve is just going to make it not fun or something. What would you say to help ease that sort of feeling and encourage people to just jump in and just do it?
Yeah, I mean, well, there's a couple of things that come to mind right away. One of them is find the right teacher, right? The right teacher makes a huge difference. And the other thing to think about is, it's never too late. We all have bandwidth issues. I get that. But if you want to learn something new, you just understand that it's going to take time, and you're going to learn it in bits and pieces. And you set your goals. You set short-term goals and mid-term goals and long-term goals for yourself, and you try to reach those. And but I think finding the right teacher is really helpful, because you want to find a teacher that's going to encourage you, but also hold you accountable on some level. Right. But yeah, I think a lot of it is internal. It's really got to come from within. You have to want. It's like I play guitar. Yeah, I play guitar as well, and I have to sit down and really study and make the time. And even you just have to tell yourself, even if it's 5 minutes, because what I realize is, like, if I tell myself, okay, just 5 minutes. Next thing I know, I'm like, oh my God, it's been 30 minutes.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, who plays for 5 minutes,
Right? But you tell yourself, hey, I'm just going to practice for 5 minutes because that's all I got. That's all I got is 5 minutes. And then the next thing you know, you're into something and you're there for 20 or 30 minutes.
And you missed dinner, but so what? You had fun.
Right. Or you stayed up too late and you can't get up for work in the morning.
That's great. What's next on your list to do and get done? Are you starting to perform? Are you going to work on more educational material? Yeah,
no. What's next is we're supporting the book. We're going to be doing some solo shows, book release events.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah, I've
clinics and stuff?
Yeah, clinics. And I was just at Indiana University doing a clinic for the students out there. We had 60 students playing the panderos, like all in time together, playing really nice.
Do you have video of that?
Yeah, it's on my Facebook page.
Okay, great. Yep. I'd love to borrow that and put it.
I'll send it to you. I'll send it to you. So we're working on marketing the book for the rest of the year and then some. In the meantime, I'm playing a lot of shows with my band Nation Beat. And we are in the process of writing a lot of new music for a new album, which will come out next year.
Great. Which seems right around the corner, strangely enough.
I know, it's crazy. Yeah. So we'll be marketing the book, we'll be recording new music, and then we'll be releasing an album next year.
And then tour, hopefully?
Touring, yeah, we're constantly bouncing around. We've got some New York City stuff coming up. We were just in Indiana.
Do you ever get out west, out here?
We just got an offer in California, in Berkeley. So we're working on a Berkeley, California trip. So cool. Maybe we'll make it out to you too.
That'd be great. Yeah, there's a place you might want to check out in Phoenix called the MIM. The Musical Instrument Museum. Steve Gadd has done some clinics there.
Funny that you mentioned that, because we performed at the opening ceremony of the MIM 10 or 12 years ago.
Oh, wow. How cool.
Maybe around 10. And the MIM also, I helped the MIM get some of the Brazilian instruments from the northeast of Brazil into one of their exhibitions.
Nice.
And yeah, so
you're very familiar with it.
We're very familiar with the MIM, and we've been, that's on our radar, very much on our radar. So
that's awesome.
Expect to see us, Dan.
Absolutely. You'll have to keep us informed with all those movements, as well as please send me that video and anything else you'd like us to use to help promote the archive of this interview. It was very enlightening. Folks, I hope you got excited about some of these other influences that you might not have. I really feel like I've got to practice now. Absolutely, I'm going to practice from the book. How do I get the app? It's just in the App Store? Just look it up.
So the app, it's a web-based app.
Okay.
And if you sign up, can I drop a link for people to
Yes.
sign up for the book, like to get information about the
Yeah,
book?
drop it in the comments and Stephen will pin it to the top.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I'll do that.
My bad. I should have asked you for that ahead of time. Sorry about that.
No, that's fine. And I can also I can drop you the app as well.
Cool.
So I just put that in the comments, and I'll drop the Swingometer app.
Great. Thanks. Steve, go ahead and pin that to the top. Oh, I think you already did. Yep. Wow, he's quick. Thanks, Steve.
And I just shared the Swingometer app as well.
Okay, awesome. Very cool. There it is. So it's right under the original comment that Scott put in. So that's very cool. Very helpful. And folks, if you learn from this, make some videos and send them in to us. Go to jumptalktv.com. You'll see video submissions at the top right corner, or on our Facebook page, Instagram, YouTube. We're always posting stuff about, well, mostly Facebook and Instagram, how to submit videos. We'd love for you to do this, and we'll tag Scott and give the book a shout out. We'd love to see what people are making of all of this. That would be awesome.
That would be great.
Cool. Scott, thank you so much for taking time to join us all the way from across the country in Maplewood, New Jersey, near New York City. And folks, we appreciate you following what we do. Thanks for hanging with Scott and I, whether you're with us on the live or the archive. And even in the archive, feel free to make comments, give Scott feedback. I'll give him the link to this. He'll be checking it out over time. And drum on. Thanks, everybody. Hang out with me, Scott.
All right. Thanks, everybody.